AI care for the elderly. Hey guys, let's do that again. Welcome to Tola Talks. I just turned the microphone on. So here we go, guys. Let's jump right into this today. Number one is AI care for the elderly in South Korea. We're talking cutting edge AI, guys. And number two, origin of idioms. Yeah, we're going to have some fun with this today. 5 idioms I thought were pretty cool because I didn't want to talk about the 22 Sri Lankan Buddhist monks carrying 242 pounds of high grade marijuana, Kush. Did you guys see that? Or how about this? The Gallup poll today came out with a new approval rating for Congress. It's at 10%. I mean, that's the lowest it's been in about 50 years. It's been below 30% for the past 5 years, and we're got to go back all the way to 1974. Wow, when it was 28%. So we got a 20% approval rating. Not too good here in Congress. But guys, let's jump right into the ABCs. All body workout, blissful sleep, colorful diet. Hey, how did I do today? I'm only getting 2 checks, guys. I went over to my favorite fast food. Yeah, I didn't get the colorful diet in today. Got the workout in. Did good on that. It was up early today, so I said, let me go over there and get me a little breakfast. So I wouldn't call that a colorful diet, but what are you going to do? You know, you can't always hit them right, but got to get the workout in. Blissful sleep, of course, colorful diet. So again, that's all up to you guys. That's burdens on you. Let's talk about this because this I thought was pretty cool in South Korea. I've never been to South Korea. I'd love to go to Seoul, man. Let me tell you, East Asian nation. There's 52 million people that live in Korea. Half of them are in the metropolitan area of Seoul. Seoul is also the 9th most populous metropolitan area in the world. Yeah, we're talking about a regional power in East Asia. Now, they're not a NATO member, but they're definitely an ally of the United States. But I like this. I read about this. They're talking about lonely deaths. All right. And they say, how do we stop lonely deaths or how do we deal with it? All right. And they have they definitely have a demographic crisis going on in South Korea like no other nation. Why? The fertility rate is 0.72. That's 0.72 per woman per year. So they're clearly not going to be keeping their population stable, right? So what are they doing? They're turning to AI. They said by 2050, 65% of people are going to be over, what is it? 65%? Well, let me tell you, these statistics are even more interesting. Yeah, they said that there's going to be most of the people, 45% of the population is going to be over 65 years of age, but they're turning to these AI. It's pretty cool. They're turning to AI as a digital safety net for seniors living alone to combat loneliness. I mean, we talk about that with the Tola takeaways. Got to call, spread your love to somebody. All right, here's how it works, right? The AI calls seniors once or twice a week. Now, they're talking to them in their language, and they ask them questions about health, diet, their mental state. And they say he remembers it doesn't just remember past conversations. No, it detects certain keywords related to illness, despair, all sorts of things that they're gonna catch it, right? And it flags it to a social worker. So it's a hybrid model. So you have one social worker, they say, can handle over 500 seniors, right? I mean, hundreds of seniors, but this is a great number, and it prioritizes those that are at the highest risk. Again, the family-led traditional care model, right, where the children take care of the parents, which I did. Let me tell you, I wish we had this for my parents. Yeah, younger Koreans are migrating to the cities. They're delaying marriage. So all sorts of things. But they say the national loneliness rate, it's at 33%. That's right. 33%. They say Korean seniors live alone. Yeah, that's a lot. We have a lot here. The AI accuracy, they say a 92% success rate of detecting unusual health patterns through this voice analysis. How about this? Again, the efficiency. One social worker can handle over 500. And in the year 2025, they believe lonely deaths dropped by 40%. Hey, kudos to South Korea. Now, what are the critics saying? Hey, let me bump up my Tola Talks here. What are the critics saying? Oh, they're going to say it dehumanizes. It dehumanizes the social services. It's a poor substitute for a human visit. But hey, what's the alternative? No care at all? You got to look at it that way. To me, I think it's a great thing. Hey, if they're not going to receive any care at all, what's wrong with AI? But let me tell you, I started using, here's a little side note here. Anybody have this experience? I started using Grok. I downloaded it, and Eve is her name. No kidding. You could pick. There's like 2 women and 2 men. They have a name. They have a voice. So I started talking to Eve. Let me tell you, I've never done this before. So I started, I would ask her questions, and I did ask. I said, so Eve, all the questions that I ask you, do you remember them the next day? Do you keep track of what I say? And she said no, but let me tell you what happened the next day. No kidding. Next day, I log on, I get to Grok, and I go to ask a question, and she starts, no kidding, she says, let me go back to our previous conversation and make sure you understand that I'm not recording or maintaining this information. It's almost like she went back in time to tell me, don't be concerned, I'm not keeping your information. But how did she know that? All right. And then the other day she says to me, I'm not kidding, she answered this in a question. She said, well, Rich, because you're a morning person. How did she know I was a morning person? Because I'm asking questions at 5 a.m. I don't know. I like it, but I'm a little bit, the concept of telling everybody your deep, dark secrets. Can't be doing that. All right, guys, let's jump right into this. These idioms. Everybody knows what an idiom is. It's an expression that you can't figure out its meaning by the words, right? By the English words that are spoken. So these are 5 idioms. I thought they were pretty cool, just so that you know where they come from. Steal someone's thunder. Everybody knows that, right? You're stealing somebody's thunder. Well, that comes from the 1700s. That's right. There's an English dramatist, playwright, John Dennis was his name. He wrote this play called Appius in Virginia. Well, the play didn't do too good, but he created this method to create the sound of thunder, right? And he came up with this little methodology here, but the play was canceled. Not enough people showed up, but then there's a play, Macbeth. Shakespeare's Macbeth was being produced at this, and he writes, there's a quote, damn them, they will not let my play run, but they steal my thunder. So there you go. Stealing someone's thunder goes back to the 1700s. All right, here we go. How about this? Close, but no cigar. I like this. Everybody knows that. You're defeated. You barely made it. Well, this is the late 19th century because carnival games back in time were for adults, not children. And if you won, they'd hand out a cigar. They'd give you a cigar. So if you didn't win, close, but no cigar. Oh, I like that. How about this? It's in the bag. I got it in the bag. Hey, where does that come from? That's a baseball term. No kidding. Goes back to 1916. The New York Giants, well, they're the San Francisco Giants, but the New York Giants were on a win streak, 26 games in a row. But every time what they would do is, beginning of the last inning, they had a bag of balls. Extra balls that they used to practice. They would move the bag off the field. They would take the bag off the field. They would always win. So they say, we got it in the bag. Once you move the bag of balls, we're going to win the game. That's right. How about this? Spill the beans. This is an easy one. Everybody knows spill the beans. Give me the scoop. Well, this might be the first instance of democracy. That's right. It goes back to a voting system back in ancient Greece. That's right. In order to vote, it was a process involving colored beans. White meant yes, black meant no. You would drop your bean in the vase, and then they would spill the vase to count all the beans to tally up the votes. Spill the beans. Finally, burning the midnight oil. Hey, if anybody's ever gone to school or college, Hey, students, hey, not many students that I taught from my 5 years of substitute teaching in the inner city. Go read that book, The Sub, Tales of an Inner City Teacher. But now, burning the midnight oil, everybody knows what that is. Every student knows what that idiom means, right? You're staying up late, you're studying. Well, this goes back in time also from 1635. This was a book written by an English poet by the name of Francis Quarles. That's right. Now we know that in the 17th century, oil lamps, right? All the light comes from oil lamps. So this origin is from oil lamps going back to this time. He wrote it in a book. Or if you're a Dolly Parton fan and Peter Wagner, they did a studio album in 1972 called The Right Combination and Burning the Midnight Oil. You got to go back in time for those. All right, guys, that's it. I just want to have some fun with that. So we got off to a little rocky start with the microphone, fixed that. But let's finish up with the 3 Tola takeaways because, again, they're crucial. You got to respect the ABCs. You got to do it. Workout, sleep, colorful diet, healthful diet, healthy diet. I didn't get one today, but you got to do it. Number 2, spread your love. That's right. Pick up the phone. If there's an elderly person in your life, pick up the phone, call them, go visit them because, hey, there's a lot of lonely people out there, especially if you're listening and you're in South Korea. All right. And finally, always be willing to accept another person's opinion because it's not yours doesn't mean it's wrong. All right, guys, have an awesome day. And as always, get your workout in. Peace.